Over the past few days, Sheryl Swoopes has found herself in a tricky situation. After ignoring Caitlin Clark, she's now seeing her attitude backfire. Let's recall what Swoopes said. "I think the Olympic break really helped Indiana." I'm going to shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She is just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double. If Indiana continues to play the way they're playing, like this, they too are going to move up in the standings. But the most interesting part is that Swoopes didn't know what Caitlin was about to do in the following days.
8 assists, 15 points in the first half, looking to add to her tally. Ooh.
This play was against the Chicago Sky, and look at how she got away from Camila Cardoso's defense with a beautiful step back. And by the way, Cardoso had just come off a game where she got, if I'm not mistaken, 5 blocks on Wilson. But against Caitlin, it was different. After Swoopes said that, Caitlin simply destroyed all her arguments with insane performances that are making everyone rethink the future of the WNBA. Since the Olympic break, Clark has been playing at a level that's simply absurd. In the last 7 games, she's averaging 24.5 points and 9 assists per game. This should simply make Sheryl Swoopes feel ashamed. But wait, there's more. Her impact on the Indiana Fever, it's out of this world. The team is leading the league in several important categories. Number 1 in points per game with 91.1. That's right, the Fever is scoring almost 100 points per game. Number 1 in three-point shooting percentage with 40.7%, and number 1 in offensive rating with 111. This means they're the most efficient offensive team in the league. And the result of all this? A 6-1 record since the break. The Fever has gone from a mediocre team to a real title contender. Now, tell me, how can anyone look at these numbers and not mention Caitlin Clark? It's like talking about the Bulls of the 90s and not mentioning Michael Jordan. It's simply impossible to ignore her impact. She's playing at a level that many veterans only dream of reaching. And the most impressive part? She's making it look easy. So, Sheryl Swoopes, stop ignoring the rookie who's making the entire league rethink how far women's basketball can go. But folks, it's not just Clark who's making noise. The Fever as a whole has transformed into a feared team, and a big part of that is due to Lexi Hull's rise to the starting lineup. Hull has been a revelation since becoming a starter. She's brought an energy and grit that are contagious. She doesn't give up on any play, whether it's fighting for a loose ball or running from one end of the court to the other to defend. Hull's impact goes beyond statistics. She's the type of player who does all the little things that don't necessarily show up in the box score, but make all the difference for the win. Her tireless effort has raised the intensity level of the entire team. With Hull and Clark on the court together, the Fever has become a well-oiled machine. It's interesting to note that Sheryl Swoopes mentioned Hull in her comments, and rightly so. Hull deserves the praise. But what Swoopes didn't realize, or chose to ignore, is how Clark's presence enhances Hull's game, and that of all the other Fever players. The Fever is no longer that team that other teams see on the calendar and think, this is an easy win. Now, when teams see they're going to face the Fever, they know they'll have a tough battle ahead. This transformation of the Fever from underdog to playoff contender is one of the most exciting stories of this WNBA season. Now, let's talk about the moment that sealed Sheryl Swoopes' fate and her criticisms. If there was any doubt about who deserved the Rookie of the Year award, Caitlin Clark dispelled it once and for all. In a game that many considered the definitive showdown between the two main candidates for the award, Clark faced Angel Reese. And what did she do? She simply dominated the game with a stellar performance, 31 points and breaking records. This wasn't just a great game, it was a statement. Just imagine, while Swoopes was busy ignoring Clark in her comments, the rookie was on the court proving why she can't be ignored. This game against Reese was more than just a win for the Fever. It was the moment Clark etched her name on the Rookie of the Year trophy. This game against Reese was the exclamation point on Clark's season. It was the moment she told the basketball world, you can ignore me in interviews, but you can't ignore me on the court. Unfortunately for Sheryl Swoopes, the more she tries to minimize Clark's achievements, the more the rookie shines. It's as if every word unsaid by Swoopes turns into another point or assist for Clark. But don't get too comfortable, because what's coming up is hair-raising. The Indiana Fever has some crucial games coming up, and the most anticipated one, against A'ja Wilson's Las Vegas Aces. This showdown isn't just another game in the season. It's the kind of match that can define legacies. On one side, we have Aja Wilson, the current MVP and one of the league's greatest players. On the other, we have Caitlin Clark, the sensation rookie who's rewriting expectations of what a rising star can do. And here's the cherry on top. If Clark manages to come away with wins in these games against the Aces, and if she maintains this absurd level of play, we're no longer just talking about Rookie of the Year. We're talking about a serious MVP candidate. Just think about it. A rookie competing for MVP head-to-head with players of Aja Wilson's caliber. This is something we've never seen before in the WNBA. It's the kind of thing that changes the game, that redefines what we thought was possible. The most incredible thing is that Clark doesn't seem intimidated by these challenges. On the contrary, she seems to flourish under pressure. Every time someone doubts her, whether it's Sheryl Swoopes or any other critic, she responds on the court with even more vigor. These upcoming games against the Aces aren't just important for the Fever's standings. They're games that can cement Clark's status as one of the league's greatest forces, regardless of her age or experience. And you know what's most exciting? This is just the beginning. Clark is only in her first year in the league. Imagine what she can do with more experience, with more time to develop chemistry with her teammates. The future of the Indiana Fever, and the WNBA as a whole, looks brighter than ever. And at the center of it all is Caitlin Clark, the player Sheryl Swoopes forgot to mention, but that the rest of the basketball world can't stop talking about. But let's take a step back and think about the big picture for a moment. What we're seeing with Caitlin Clark isn't just about an incredible player or the Fever's success. It's about a fundamental change in the WNBA and women's basketball as a whole. The arenas are packed. Ticket sales are through the roof. Social media is buzzing with Clark's highlights. She's not just playing basketball at an elite level, she's changing the public's perception of what women's basketball can be. And here's the most exciting part. Clark is inspiring a new generation of players. Imagine how many girls are watching her play and thinking, I want to be like that when I grow up. She's expanding what's possible, not just for herself, but for all future players. That's why Sheryl Swoopes' comments are so frustrating. By ignoring Clark, she's not just slighting one player. She's missing the chance to celebrate this incredible moment for women's basketball. But you know what's most amazing? Clark doesn't need Swoopes or anyone else to validate her. She's making her own path, redefining what's possible, and inspiring millions in the process. So, the next time someone tries to downplay Clark's impact or women's basketball in general, remember this. What we're seeing now is history being made, and we're all lucky to be here to witness it. But don't think the story ends here. In fact, we're just at the beginning of what promises to be one of the most exciting journeys in league history. Think about it. Clark is already breaking records and redefining expectations as a rookie. What happens when she has 1, 2, 3 seasons of experience? The sky's the limit, and even that might be too low for her potential. And it's not just about individual records. The Fever, which was considered a mediocre team not long ago, is now positioning itself as a serious playoff contender. Imagine what could happen if Clark takes the Fever to the playoffs. Imagine her facing the league's best teams in high-pressure series. Can you visualize Clark hitting a decisive shot in the last second of a Game 3? The potential for iconic moments, for historic performances, for redefining what we thought was possible in women's basketball, it's all in front of us. One thing is certain. The future of women's basketball has never looked so bright, so exciting, so full of possibilities. But what do you think about all this? Caitlin Clark is rewriting the rules of the game, proving that Sheryl Swoopes and other critics are completely out of touch. But we want to know your opinion. Do you think Clark has a real chance of competing for MVP this season? What do you expect to see in the games against the Aces? And what do you think of Sheryl Swoopes' attitude in ignoring Clark? Is the basketball legend jealous, or does she have some reason we're not seeing? Leave your comments down below. We want to see a lively discussion about the future of the WNBA and the impact Caitlin Clark is having. And if you enjoyed this content and want to stay up to date with all the news, analysis, and debates about the WNBA, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. That way, you won't miss any videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.